My name is Ian Dowling, and today I'm going to be talking about motorcycling. I'm going to try to persuade you to maybe think about it a little bit differently and see that they might not be as dangerous as everyone says that they are. Um, we've all probably seen and most likely heard plenty of bikes go by us in our lives. Everyone usually has their own opinions about them. Usually ranges from something like, wow, these bikes are really cool, to, wow, those guys are fools for riding those things. I hear a lot from people who don't ride about how dangerous bikes are, and they know people who've been hurt or killed, and it kind of got me thinking, how dangerous are they really? Because none of my friends have ever died. I don't know anybody who's died. None of my friends have been really injured. I don't know anybody who's been really injured either. Is there something that we're doing right that other people aren't doing, or is it just kind of a luck of the draw thing? So here I'm going to talk about some of the statistics of bikes and crashes before I get into my main argument points. So between 2009 and 2013, there were about 635,000 registered motorcycles in Canada, and at the same time there were about 20,500,000 light vehicles, which basically accounts for anything that's not like a semi truck, something big like a truck. And Canadian cars travel about 75 kilometers for every kilometer a bike travels. On average, 187.4 riders died in collisions during this time period, uh, and 1,064 drivers died in car collisions. And this makes the ratio of light vehicle deaths to motorcycle rider deaths 5.542 to 1, which is it makes motorcyclists about 13 and a half times more likely to die in traffic accidents than Canada. Over here in the US, there were 247.4 million cars and 8.4 million bikes registered in 2013. And of non-motorcycles, there were 28,051 fatalities and 2.2 million reported accidents. And 4,668 bikes were killed in 2013, and 88,000 bikers were injured. And so bikes make up 14% of traffic fatalities, 4% of injuries that were reported, but only 3% of all registered vehicles. So these are kind of bleak looking numbers. So probably asking, how could these possibly be safe at all? Well, according to Fortnite, in Canada, over 50% of reported motorcycle accidents involve riders that have been riding their bike for less than 5 months. So if you've been riding the same bike for quite some time, your risk factor drops quite a bit. And in Ontario, alcohol limits above the legal limit were a factor in 25% of motorcycle deaths between '08 and 2014. So if you drive sober, that's a big you can knock down that risk factor some more. That's a big percent. And in that same Ontario survey, it showed that excessive speed was a top factor in 12% of deaths. So if you also keep within speed limits, you'll knock that risk factor down a little bit, even more. And according to the Canada Safety Council, mandatory motorcycle training can prevent up to 46% of rider fatalities. So if you get some proper training, I have proper training. Quite a few of my friends have proper training, so that'll help as well. And according to the NHTSA, it suggests that wearing a full face helmet is also 37% effective at preventing fatalities because a full face can offer 64.1% more impact coverage than half helmets. And motorcycles with ABS, anti-lock brakes. All cars have anti-lock brakes, but not all bikes. But if your bike does have anti-lock brakes, you're also 37% less likely to be involved in a fatal collision. So if you do most or all of that, I'd say your risk factor gets knocked down quite a bit. But How about in America? Well, according to MotorAdventure.com, 34% of all motorcycle riders involved in fatal crashes were in excess of the speed limit. So that's a lot. If you're going the speed limit, I'd say you're probably going to be a lot safer, and especially if you're doing it in the city, if you're speeding in the city through the city where cars pull out in front of you and all this stuff, that's just really not a good idea. Um, and 25% of all fatalities were also unlicensed riders. So you should really hammer in that training, get some proper training, get your license, because that'll help a lot. You learn some good stuff in the course. And again, alcohol, 28% of fatal crashes in America had above 0.08% blood alcohol level. So if you ride sober, you're doing it good. You're already being pretty safe, and that's I would say a pretty easy thing to do. Is just don't drink alcohol before you ride. And an interesting one is that 55% of motorcyclists killed in they were over the age of 40, and 42 was the average age of all riders involved in fatal accidents. And this is most likely because a lot of riders become complacent in their skills and they kind of become negligent or inattentive, whereas younger riders like myself and newer riders are a little bit more hyper vigilant at all times. The same thing happens with car drivers. Some surveys found that phone usage is a big problem, becomes an even bigger problem the older you get because you feel that you're better at driving and you don't have to pay attention as much and oh, you can handle it, but that's just not the truth. And according to MichiganAutoLaw.com, for every 100 unhelmeted motorcyclists killed, 37 riders and 41 passengers would have been saved if all 100 had been wearing helmets. And that's quite a bit. So again, get your license, don't drink and ride, and wear a helmet. Please wear a helmet. Um, I got one friend, he does not wear a helmet. Neither does his girlfriend, and it just freaks me out, man. But so all these numbers, it it is you can be safe about it. You can be safe about riding, but at the end of the day, it is still dangerous. The argument was never that it wasn't dangerous. It is still dangerous, and there is always that risk. But you can be way safer if you just do things right. Wear your gear, don't drink, get your license, and you'll have a much better time.